Previously on Vampire the Masquerade, Big Easy by Night. The coterie awoke to discover Mia hadn't returned, and now Silas was missing as well. Mia sleeping elsewhere wasn't unexpected, nor was Silas being a flake. Johnny was getting dangerously hungry, and Diane was starting to look tasty. Since she had sent Jason away during her paranoia, Mia was forced to walk back to the hotel. She was also hungry, and there were still plenty of tourists in the French Quarter, and she was able to hunt on her way back to the hotel without too much difficulty. She returned to find Johnny pacing the penthouse suite angrily. He needed vitae. Going with him into the bedroom, Mia let him feed off her. His hunger sated, it was now Mia's turn to pace angrily, in need of sustenance. With Silas gone, the coterie needed help tracking the administrator of the Baron de Tenebris website. The only person they knew with the necessary skills was Gabriella. Before they left, Johnny called Marvin, asking him to follow Jenny and report on everything she did. He also called Jason to have him come to the hotel and join them. They knew, even if Gabrielle agreed to help, the results wouldn't be instant. In the meantime, they wondered if they should follow the rabbit hole of the administrator and walk into a possible trap, or come up with another plan. They still needed answers on New York and the Knight's Cross. Kidnapping Josephine seemed like the best solution to that problem. Johnny needed to stop by his bunker haven to grab guns and tranquilizers for grabbing Josephine. He asked Diane to confirm how much animal tranquilizer could be safely given to a human to knock them out, but not kill them. He didn't want to kill Josephine. Yet. The coterie then headed to High Voltage to enlist Gabriella's aid. She was happy to help Silas's coterie out, in exchange for access to the administrator's servers. They agreed. While Gabriella worked, the coterie headed for 21st Amendment. Mia stayed in the car while Johnny and Diane went in. She felt she had already burned the Josephine Bridge earlier. Josephine and her gang were all there, drinking. The hunter recognized Johnny and offered him a job. A high-profile client needed some extra security for a rally, and it would be a good test run for Johnny. Johnny agreed. The Knight's Cross was having a drink before they headed to the job, and offered one to Johnny. He roused his blood, taking a shot of whiskey. He asked about Redwood, claiming to have heard something on the news. Josephine was also curious to know what happened. She had had friends there who were now missing. The Knight's Cross had been hunting vampires to try and gather more info, but none of the vampires were talking. All she was able to learn was the vampires gathered at a bar on Thursday nights. If Johnny did a good job, maybe she'd bring him along. Johnny asked her what it was like killing a vampire. Better than sex, an unbelievable high. Johnny made a mental note of her reaction for later, when he was inevitably torturing her. He agreed to meet up with the Knight's Cross at the rally, being held at the Church of the Redeemer. The intent of the rally was to raise money for the megachurch. It had been affected by COVID-19 like most businesses, and with stimulus checks coming in, the congregation was asked to remember everything the church had done for them, and to give their stimulus checks to God. The main speaker at the rally, Senator Benjamin Lockwood, spoke of meeting a young man the night before with the devil inside him. It was only because of the grace of God that the senator was able to drive the devil back. It was because of great institutions like the Church of the Redeemer that God looked so favorably upon him. Outside of the event, Josephine assigned Johnny to guard an entrance with another member of the Knight's Cross, named Dick. Diane compelled Dick to get Josephine and bring her to the entrance. When Josephine then disappeared, Dick would be the one to look suspicious, not Johnny. Mia waited in the shadows with a syringe of tranquilizer for Josephine to arrive. When she showed up, Josephine was annoyed that there was a problem. Mia grabbed her from behind, injecting her. Johnny grabbed Dick and wrestled him to the ground, taking a security vest and walkie-talkie. He dragged the biker out of the church as though he were a security problem that needed to be dealt with. They restrained Dick in the back of Mia's car, while the unconscious Josephine was restrained in the back of Johnny's van. Johnny went back into the rally to continue to pose as security, while Mia and Diane left with their prisoners. The plan was for Johnny to meet them later at Montoya's house. They liked the poetic justice of torturing the Knight's Cross in the same house where they killed a kindred. On the drive over, Mia was her usual scary bitch self, scaring Dick enough that he wet himself. She fed on him, getting a buzz from the alcohol in his system. Arriving at Montoya's, she tied Josephine to the same chair Montoya was killed in, tossing Dick in another room. While they waited for Johnny to arrive, Mia told Jason to get the car cleaned. She didn't want to have to deal with the urine stain. At the rally, Johnny played dumb with the other members of the Knight's Cross, telling them only that Dick left to get Josephine, and he hadn't seen either of them. The gang needed to tighten ranks to find out what had happened and told Johnny to go home. They'd have Josephine call him once they found her. He left, grabbing an Uber to Montoya's house to meet the others. Before Johnny arrived, Diane checked in with Allie to see if there were any updates on the Redwood story. The cops had a possible lead. Alison Sterry had given a press conference where she remembered an intruder in the house on the night her husband was murdered. The description matched Diane. When Josephine awoke, the first thing she saw was Mia. Mia and Johnny attempted to intimidate Josephine, but the hunter was defiant in the face of certain death. She was confident in her faith that even if they killed her, she'd be going to heaven. Mia tried to get information on New York out of the hunter, but Josephine didn't know the alias. Frustrated, Johnny broke Josephine's foot. The hunter refused to show pain. As they continued to question and hurt her, Josephine revealed the church paid her to hunt vampires. While vampires hunted humans, they were hunting the vampires. She specifically was working for John Pilgrim, the minister of the church. Mia considered how to deal with Josephine. Turning her into a ghoul, or even embracing her, seemed like interesting options. Johnny wanted to know who the leader of the Knight's Cross was. When she refused to say, Johnny cut off one of her fingers. Finally, she broke, revealing that Lockwood had founded the Knight's Cross specifically to hunt vampires. With no information on New York, the coterie weighed their options. Johnny wanted to kill the two hunters so they wouldn't be a future problem. Diane was more interested in erasing their memories. Before they made a decision, they checked in with Gabriella. She sent them a link to a live stream from Dark Hour Security. Two of the guards, the same two Mia had scared off a couple nights earlier, were streaming that vampires were real and they were going to prove it. They'd captured a vampire. None of the coterie recognized the goth team they had tied up. The girl begged for help. Diane was ready to immediately head to rescue her. One of his convictions was to aid women in need. With half the coterie distracted, Johnny took matters into his own hands, executing both Josephine and Dick. The coterie left the murder scene for Dark Hour, Mia wondering if this was all staged. Were they driving straight to a trap? At Dark Hour, Johnny put on a balaclava and grabbed a shotgun. The two guards, Eric and Benny, had their attention solely on the girl they were torturing. Johnny shot the camera, ending their live stream. The beast rose in him, compelling him to revel in his superiority over the two humans. He used the butt of the shotgun to nail Benny in the groin, dropping the guard to the ground. Diane untied the girl, Brooke, checking her out. Fortunately, her wounds appeared to be superficial. Diane offered Brooke the opportunity to kick the shit out of the prostrate Benny. She accepted. When Eric saw Mia, he immediately recognized her as the monster he had seen earlier. Mia took their driver's licenses, memorizing their addresses. She would come for them. Diane used his mental powers to compel both of them to head to the police station and turn themselves in. Mia then left to return back to Metairie to dispose of the corpses. Checking in with Gabriella again, Johnny and Diane learned that the moment they had arrived at Dark Hour, the IP address to the Baron Tenebris server was changed to one of the dorms at the University of New Orleans. As a student there, Diane was familiar with the campus. They followed the trace to a studio dorm room where a pale girl lay unconscious. To Diane, it appeared as if she had been fed on too deeply by a vampire and left to die. He pulled out a knife, cutting her wrists before picking her up to take to the medical center. He knew there would be questions as to the blood loss, and for the Masquerade to survive, she had to look like a suicide attempt. With the girl, and the Masquerade, saved, Diane returned to her dorm room to look for clues. Finding nothing, he checked in with Gabriella again. She excitedly revealed that she had cut through the administrator's game and found out where his server was located, in a mansion previously owned by horror novelist Anne Rice. Even at the late hour, there were still a lot of tourists outside the mansion taking pictures. Johnny didn't understand the desire to see where a novelist once lived. They snuck in the back, away from the crowd. Diane tripped, alerting the private security patrolling the grounds. Thinking quickly, Diane used the opportunity to keep the guard distracted, allowing Johnny and Mia to sneak into the house. The two stuck to the shadows as they looked for a server room. They found one in an office, the oblivious administrator working on the website. Mia surprised him, eliciting a scream of panic. He knew exactly who she was, and immediately surrendered. He knew who she really wanted, New York. He didn't know New York's real name, but he knew that his emails traced to a club downtown called the Succubus Club. The administrator also showed Mia a webcam picture he had managed to take of New York. Mia and Johnny didn't recognize the man, but now they had a face to put to their enemy. They wanted the Verum to Tenebris servers, and the administrator gladly handed them over in exchange for his life. The coterie loaded the machines into Johnny's van and then decided to lay low for the night. End of session.